What's good, people? Jacob here, Dolphins Syndicate. I'm happy. I'm wearing a Ravens shirt. My second favorite team is the Ravens. I told myself coming in today, I'm not going to bother rooting for the Dolphins. I'm tired of sitting down and having any semblance of pretending like things are going to go okay when the Dolphins play football. We're so bad. And there's some Dolphins fans that have just immense copium to try to act like we're something that we're not. We're bad. That was a horrible football game. Talk about unprepared. They had it was almost as if they didn't know who Lamar Jackson was. I mean, he didn't have to do anything great. He truly did not have to do anything good at all. Lamar had the easiest game of his career outside of that one game where he had a perfect passer rating against us. He was just sitting back. He could have had a lawn chair back there. I mean, all the time in the world. Didn't barely had a sweat. He clearly didn't trust his body. He clearly is still feeling it from the hamstring injury, or maybe not necessarily feeling it, but afraid of it popping up again. So he stayed in the pocket. And any people who still doubt his ability to play from the pocket, well, albeit yes, it was against us, just throw on the film of the game tonight. Excellent from the pocket, so calm, precise, accurate. And then you get to watch the athleticism, which he didn't have to show a lot. You get to watch the accuracy still within the pocket. You get to watch all the things that makes Lamar great to a very mediocre wide receiver core. And then you have to, on the very next drive, watch Tua play quarterback and watch him have the utmost inability to create on his own. I mean, any sort of pressure, nothing. There were some good throws by Tua today. Absolutely. That pass that Achan couldn't catch on the left sideline, beautiful throw. And Tua placed the ball sometimes, like 4th and 11 to Jalen Waddle on the right sideline. It was a good throw. And all of this is, like, I'm not blaming Tua for literally everything that's going on here, although I do, in a way, blame him for what is going on because we chose to build around him. And that's not his fault. That is the fault of Mike McDaniel and the group, the decision-making group within the Dolphins. It is their fault. But they did choose to build around an unathletic, injury-prone quarterback without the best arm in the world that cannot create on his own, that is completely reliant on what the offense around him does. And when the offense around him is anything but excellent, he looks like he did today. He'll make some throws, but he's not going to make the throw. He's not going to make the play. He's going to make a play. He's going to make what the offense brings around him, and that's that. Defense. Holy crap. What a horrifyingly bad defensive performance. This game could have been so much worse if the Ravens really, really wanted it to be. This could have been a 30 or 40 point performance by the Ravens. Again, with Lamar, his first game back. The turnovers don't help. Taj Washington fumbling in what I believe was nearly the red zone. Taj Washington fumbling in their red zone. Malik Washington fumbling in our red zone. Not great. Tua deep shot to D. Eskridge. Not great. 3 turnovers on the day. You don't force a single turnover. You're not going to win like that. Defense couldn't stop anything that the Ravens wanted to get going. There was times in the first half that Derrick Henry looked stifled, looked like he couldn't, they couldn't rely on him to move the chains, and there was a few possessions where, we looked good enough, and then he quietly has almost 120 yards on the ground. This is not the Ravens team that their record indicates. As somebody who is a Ravens fan as well, I was telling everybody coming into this game, this is not a 2-win football team. This is a football team that is hungry. This is a football team that has already had their bye week. This is a football team that last week with a backup quarterback in Tyler Huntley, which we saw last year, we know Tyler Huntley doesn't have a whole lot of juice. He is a easier plug and play for the Ravens than he is for the Dolphins, but we know what Tyler Huntley is, and we know most certainly what Tyler Huntley is not. And what Tyler Huntley is not is a quarterback that can put the offense on his shoulders and carry a game along. He's not that. He played a good enough game last week. He did. But that defense, it's healthy. The secondary is healthy. You get one of the best middle linebackers back in all of the sport in Roquan Smith. That is the Ravens team we saw today. We saw a Lamar Jackson that was uncertain with his body, but he's clearly healthy. And then Derrick Henry looks good. Zay Flowers has a quietly decent game. Mark Andrews finds the end zone twice. Isaiah likely gets involved for what feels like the first time all season. This is not the same Ravens team that their record indicates. The Ravens are going to win their division. And if they win their division, they're probably going to win another playoff game when they play a wild card team. The Ravens are probably going to end up the 3 seed, so you're probably going to play against the 6 seed. So, a Ravens-Chargers playoff game is probably what I predict right now. And, it's going to be entertaining. But that's those problems then. That conversation then. It's a very good Ravens team. I've been saying for weeks amongst my circle, because people know me as both a Dolphins fan and a Ravens fan. I'm a Dolphins fan first. Let me get that clear. I already know there's going to be a bunch of people saying, why are you doing this in a Ravens t-shirt? Because I want to, okay? I hate watching the Dolphins play football now, okay? I enjoy watching the Ravens. I knew what they were going to be. They went out and proved it. And I knew what the Dolphins were going to be. And they went out and proved it. This Ravens team is a whole lot better. I forgot even where I was going with that point. Doesn't matter. We had a few drinks tonight. It was fun. Had one of my boys over. Donovan was at the game, and the copium was real for him. Oh, I know where I was going with that. Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh. John Harbaugh. So many people earlier in the season talking about how John Harbaugh should be fired at the end of the season. Both people that, honestly, I'll just flatly say, general NFL fans. And I think anybody who looks at what Harbaugh's done with the Ravens and thinks he should be fired is just absolutely crazy. Consistently makes the play. Every year that team is healthy, every time Lamar is healthy, that team makes the playoffs. Obviously, he had a couple years where Lamar wasn't healthy, didn't make the playoffs. When they get to the playoffs, yeah, look, it's not great. But just because you get to the playoffs and discipline once you get to the playoffs, that is not enough reason for me to fire a coach. Yeah, obviously the goal is to win the Super Bowl. Only one team can win the Super Bowl. You have the best quarterback, you have the best head coach in the AFC. Look, it's going to be rough. And you know what? They should do better, and I hope they do better. But that's a very high bar to try to replace somebody from. Somebody who's been there as long as he has. Somebody who's won a Super Bowl. Look, they struggle in the playoffs, and you just hope that one of these years it's finally going to click, and eventually it probably will. But a coach that good, you do not just fire him. The Knicks with Tom Thibodeau. The Knicks were stupid for firing Tom Thibodeau. Their plan for firing Tom Thibodeau was to go across the NBA and try to lure for other head coaches from their current jobs. That is not a way to handle a head coach position. And the Ravens, if they let go of John Harbaugh, I don't think they're going to go to that extent. I don't think NFL that's really a realistic proposition to lure head coaches away from other teams. But John Harbaugh would immediately become the hottest asset in the head coaching space. And after this Dolphins season comes to an end with Mike McDaniel being fired and whatever else ends up happening, if he had hit the open market, I'd throw the checkbook at John Harbaugh to be the Dolphins head coach. Bring in some toughness. Bring in some playoff experience. Cut Tua, get rid of Greer, start completely fresh. Understand next year is probably not going to be a great season, but 2027 when you spend a whole lot of money, and the next offseason when you spend a decent amount of money, and then into the future, figure out. But obviously Harbaugh is not going to hit the open market. Obviously the Ravens are probably going to win that division, and obviously the Dolphins are going to continue to suck for the rest of the season. It just is what it is. If you have another team in the NFL that you like, don't be ashamed of it. Don't let people tell you that you can only be a fan of one team. Where's the contract that I signed that said I can't be a fan of both the Ravens and the Dolphins? I don't remember signing that contract. Matter of fact, my love for the Ravens partially came from my love of the Dolphins. 2010, Ravens, Patriots, first round of the playoffs. I hate the Patriots. Least favorite team, arguably in all of sports. And the Ravens play them, and they win. Oh gosh, who was their running back at the time? Rice. Was it Rice? Yeah, whatever his name. I forget. Jeez, that's bad that I forget his name right now. That's the drinks. I'm going to remember probably at the end of this video. They win. They go on to Pittsburgh. They lose. Pittsburgh was my second least favorite team at the time. They beat the Patriots, lose to the Steelers, but the love that I felt watching them play in the playoffs just kind of stuck with me and rolled over into next year and rolled over to the year after that. And the year after that, they won the Super Bowl. So I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I have to like these guys. And that has just continued now. Lamar Jackson is my favorite player in NFL history. I don't know how you can watch him play and not get excited. Look, he doesn't have the Super Bowl. I don't care. There's certain players that even if they haven't won a championship yet, you just got to appreciate how fun it is to watch them play. Like Allen Iverson, Dan Marino as a Dolphin. So talented with the ball in his hands. Basketball, Allen Iverson, so talented with the ball in his hands that obviously at the end of their careers, it didn't end up with a ring on their finger, but who cares? They're just that good. They're that fun to watch. Appreciate them for what they are, and I appreciate that with Lamar Jackson. I appreciate that with Derrick Henry. I appreciate that with Roquan Smith. They're a great team that can win a Super Bowl. I don't know if they will, but they can. This Dolphins team can. This Dolphins team is just a dead team in the water. Cool last week. You beat Kirk Cousins. You beat a depleted Falcons team that I don't know how good they are. They beat the Bills. Are the Bills good? Probably. How good are they? I don't know. But you beat Kirk Cousins. You beat a team without Drake London. You sold out to stop Bijan Robinson and say, Kirk, do you have anything? And Kirk said no. You beat the Jets earlier this year. Not a good football team. That's where you're at. You're 2 wins into the season. We're past the halfway point. We still have to wait to see our bye week. This team sucks. Go out and enjoy another team. You didn't sign a contract saying that, let's say you like the Bucks or Jags, you want to support a Florida team, do it. You got an NFC team. You enjoy right now what Sam Darnold's doing in Seattle. Enjoy it. You enjoy the Eagles. Cool. More power to you. If you see something else you like, enjoy your fantasy football teams. Invest into those players. Watch those players. I hope they win you a championship, just like I hope mine win me mine. I love fantasy football. Do what you got to do. Don't waste your time rooting for the Dolphins. And if you go to the comments and you're like, why are you wearing a Ravens jersey? You got to stick with the Dolphins. Why? I mean, I'm sticking with them because I still love them, and I still want the Dolphins to win every game except for tonight, generally speaking. Next season, I want the best for the Dolphins. But what's best for the Dolphins right now is losing. What's best for the Dolphins right now is losing games. I want this team to suck. I want Stephen Ross to have no other thought in his mind when this season comes to a close other than I need to fire everybody. And the only way that is going to happen is if this team continues to suck. If you want change, if you want McDaniel gone, if you want Greer gone, if you want Tua gone, you want games like this to keep happening. Because if not, nothing is going to change. We have seen the reports week after week now that Stephen Ross still trusts Mike McDaniel, that Stephen Ross still wants to stick with Mike McDaniel. The only way that is going to change in Stephen Ross's mind is if he sees it. He has to see it. He has to see it get bad. He has to see the Dolphins be the laughingstock of the league. And then, maybe he'll make change. I have to assume week 1 next year, we're going to have a different quarterback. Not quarterback. Maybe quarterback. Hopefully quarterback. I got to assume week 1 next year, we're going to have a different head coach. I hope week 1 next year, we're going to have a different GM. The only way we get that is if we suck. Enjoy the suck. Embrace the suck. All right? Watch the Dolphins. Don't get sad if they lose. Have a smile on your face if they lose. because you are one step closer to getting everybody out of this team. We need a purge. We don't need a retool, a reshift of assets. We need a purge. We need a death of the current team. And the only way we are going to get that is games like today, where you go on national TV and you have Lamar and the Ravens look like they're running a scrimmage against you. That's all from me. That's my thoughts. Go Ravens. Have a great rest of your day. Go Dolphins.